Alright guys, now let's go. Test 2, reading passage 1. You should spend about 20 minutes on questions 1 to 13, which are based on reading passage 1 below. Okay, Alexander Henderson. Okay, you see here, and then you have to read everything. Now let's have a look at all the questions. We finished last time already, right? True, false, not given. Alright, now what's the answer for number 1, guys? False. Okay, where is it? Oh, that's true. Yeah, let me check the answer. Number 1, false, right? False. Okay, and then you can fill in there. Okay. All right, Nhi, read that. Yeah, Henderson rarely visited the area around Press Estate when he was younger, and the answer is false. So it's not correct, right? So that means that maybe he often visited that place when he was younger, right? Now, where's that? Okay, wait, give me a sec. Let me see which page is this. 31. Let's try click here 31 so we can up and down very fast. Which paragraph? Paragraph 1. Okay, read that. Where is that? Yeah, the family often stayed at Press Castle, the large mansion on the northern edge of the Broadway, and Alexander spent much of his childhood in the area, playing on the beach, the mouth of fishing in the streams nearby. First of all, I want to see like the area around Press Estate. The area around Press Estate, where is it mentioned about Press Estate? Because here I only see Press Castle, right? I want to see Press Estates as well. You need to read a little bit above, right? The family had extensive land holdings in Scotland, besides its residence in Edinburgh. It owned Press Estate. Okay, here we have the word Press Estate. 650 acres of farmland, about 35 miles south of the city, and then blah blah blah, all of the thing there. Okay, now I can see Press Estate, and next, he rarely visited the area around that place, like the Press Castle or something, when he was younger, and it's wrong, because here they say that Alexander spent much of his childhood in the area, playing on the beach near Eyemouth or fishing in the streams nearby, right? See that? Here they say spend much of his childhood, and here they say rarely. So it's totally opposite. So that's wrong. Yeah, guys? Okay, so you can mark that one, and then you can write number 1. That's the answer for number 1. Yeah? You can mark that one and you write number 1 next to that. Underline the phrase Alexander spent much of his childhood in this area, and also some sentences there. The family had extensive land holdings in Scotland until of fishing in the streams nearby. Yeah? Mark that area. So that's the answer for number 1. Now let's move on to number 2. What's the answer, guys? What? True. Okay, let me write there. True, right? Okay. All right. Now, TOEIC, go. No, just read the statement first. Yes, Henderson pursued a business career because it was what his family wanted, and this is correct. It is true. So that means, yeah, that's what happened, right? That means that he pursued a business career. Why is that? Because it was what his family wanted. Where is that? Verb 2, line number 3. Yes, okay, that's very good. Yes, although he never liked the prospect of a business career, he stayed with it to please his family, just to make his family happy. Okay? Yeah, he never liked that. Okay? He never liked the prospect of a business career. All right, guys? So that's true. So you can mark that one, or you can underline that, and then you can write number 2 next to it. Yeah. Mark that area and write number 2 next to that. Okay. Mấy bạn yếu cố gắng theo nha. Tại đây là lớp IELTS band cao, mình không thể nói tiếng Việt. Alright, now let's move on to number 3. Ngọc Anh.
Henderson and Norton were surprised by the result of their 1865 experience.
Number 3, the answer is not given. Okay, we write there first. Not given. I don't have no place. Okay, not given. Henderson and Norman were surprised by the results of their 1865 experiment. Guys, tell me again. Ngọc Anh, can you explain it to me? Not given, what does that mean? No, I mean when we choose not given and not false or not true, when should we do that?
When the written passage don't have that information, we choose the...
No, not like it doesn't have information. Yeah, yes, I know. Here they say not given if there is no information on this. No information on this. Not, it doesn't mean like it doesn't have any information. At least it should have something. Otherwise, you cannot search, right? Can someone explain it to me again? Not given, what does that mean? Otherwise, you will make a mistake all the time. You might think this is false. So not given, what does that mean, guys? What? Someone? Đâu các bạn hiểu not given là cái gì? Ý là gì? Không hiểu rõ cái này là các bạn đánh loạn xạ luôn. Not given means that at least it must say something about it, but in the wrong direction. Okay? For example, here they say, I don't know, I didn't read that one yet, but here they say Henderson and Norman were surprised by the results of their blah blah experiments, something like that. So maybe that means that in the passage, you may find some information related to Henderson and Norman. Okay, and maybe you see something about the experiment, the 1865 experiment, and the results of something. But probably they didn't mention anything like whether these two people were surprised or not. Okay, so like they just mentioned some pieces of the information, but they don't match, or they don't come together like this. Okay, but at least they must mention something. You cannot say that, well, there's no information about it. No, it's wrong. There must be some information about it, but it's not like this. They mention maybe some pieces of this one, some pieces of that one. All right, but when you combine all of them together, it doesn't mean anything related to this statement. Got it? All right, where? Because otherwise, if I ask someone, okay, why should we say not given there, and then you say, well, because it doesn't mention, so I can't find anywhere. It doesn't make any sense. All right, you must be able to find the answer somewhere. Where is that? Paragraph 3, number 3. Yeah, paragraph 3, I can see some names here. You have to start from the beginning, like Henderson. Henderson learned photography in Montreal around the year 1857 and quickly took it up as a serious amateur. He became a personal friend and colleague of a Scottish-Canadian photographer, William Norman. Now I see the name Henderson. I also see the name Norman. Or Notman, okay? The two men made a photographic excursion to Niagara Falls in 1860, and they cooperated on experiments with magnesium flares as a source of artificial light in 1865. Okay, now here I can see 1865, right? And I can see something about like a source of artificial light, so I can guess this is an experiment. Okay, so we have kind of the 1865 experiment. Yes, that's correct. And we can see the name of these two people, right? But did they mention anything like these two people were surprised by the results of their 1865 experiment? Yes or no? No, right? I just say the two men made a photography excursion to this area in 1860, and they cooperated on experiments with magnesium flares as a source of artificial light in 1865. Oh, I can see experiments here, right? They cooperated on experiments in 1865 here. So they worked together, they cooperated. That means they worked together. But it didn't mention anything like they were surprised or not surprised about the results. See that? Yeah? All right, so that is the answer for number 3. You can mark that one. Right there. And then you can write number 3. Okay, here. Yeah. You can mark from Henderson until in 1865, and then you can write number 3 there. Okay? All right, next one. Number 4.
There were many similarities between Henderson's landscape and those of Nottingham Falls.
What is the answer for this? Number 4? False. Number 4, false, right? Okay. You can write down. There were many similarities between Henderson's early landscapes and those of Notman, and that is false. So can you guess when we say false, what does that mean? Explain this.
there was a difference between Henderson's early landscape and Northman.
Yeah, maybe, yes. So maybe here they say there were many similarities between blah, blah, blah. And maybe in the passage you might say something like there were differences between Henderson's early landscapes and those of Northman, right? Okay. Where's that?
In paragraph 4, line number 1.
Paragraph 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Line number 1, okay.
In spite of their friendship, their style of photography was quite different. Northman landscape were known for their close realism. Henderson, for the first 20 years of his career, produced romantic images showing the strong influence of the British landscape tradition. His artistic and technical progress was rapid, and in 1865 he published his first major collection, landscape photograph.
Yeah, okay, we don't need to read that long. Just a couple of the first few sentences should be enough. So from the beginning, in spite of their friendship, their styles of photography were quite different. You see that? Were quite different. While Northman's landscapes were noted for their bold realism, Henderson, for the first 20 years of his career, produced romantic images showing the strong influence of the British landscape tradition. So that should be enough. Now, tell me, I want to say something like, here, Henderson's early landscapes and those of Northman. I want to see the similar words of early landscape. Early.
Landscape tradition.
No. Here guys, what does that mean when they say between Henderson's early landscapes and those of Northman? What does that mean? Number 4, the statement number 4. Henderson's early landscapes and those of Northman. What does that mean? Trời ơi, cái gì vậy? Trả lời quá trời, không biết cái câu statement là ý nghĩa là gì rồi sao trả lời guys? Really? Đâu bạn nào nói thì nghe cái câu số 4, người ta nói là Henderson's early landscapes. What does that mean? Cái gì vậy? Nhảy vô làm đầu rào trả lời các kiểu luôn, không hiểu câu statement mà trả lời cái gì? Cả câu statement các bạn cũng không hiểu thì trả lời cái gì đây? Không cách nào trả lời hết. Đoán nè, đoán mò. Đại hả? Hên xui hả? Hay là thấy chữ landscape ở trên landscape nhiều quá, ở dưới cũng landscape, trên landscape. Right? Guys, early landscapes, that means that the landscape he used when he was young. Okay? When he was young, or at the beginning of his career. Not when he was an old man. Do you understand? Now, tell me, where? In the passage.
Henderson, for the first 20 years of his career.
Yes, Henderson, for the first 20 years of his career. That means his early career. You understand? That is his style for the first 20 years of his career. That is the style he used for the first 20 years of his career. Not later, not when he was old. When he was young, he used that, but not after that. Do you understand? Okay. So now here we see, okay, now we see all of the information there already, and the most important word here is or phrase is were quite different. And here we have there were many similarities, right? There was many similarities between blah blah blah, and here we see their styles of photography were quite different. See that? Okay, you can mark that one or underline it, whatever. From in spite of their friendship until the British landscape tradition, okay? And then you can write number 4 next to that. And of course you can underline were quite different because that's the key thing, okay? Oh, I do that in the wrong file, sorry. Okay, here. Okay, number 4. Alright guys. Alright, now let's move on to number 5.
The studio that Henderson opened in 1866 was close to his home.
Yeah.
Not given.
Number 5, the answer is not given. Yeah, okay. Not given, you can write there. The studio that Henderson opened in 1866 was close to his home. Not given. Now can you guess if we mention not given here? So can you guess what you can read in the passage? Thư?
I think the passage not mentioned close to his home.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe in the passage you won't be able to find anything related to whether the studio that Henderson opened was close to his home or not. But at least maybe they mentioned something about that studio, right? The studio that he opened in 1866, but probably it doesn't mention clearly whether that studio was close to his home or not. Alright, now let's find out. Where's that?
The next page, first line,
Uh-huh.
in 1866, he gave up his business to open a photographic studio, advertising himself as a portrait and landscape photographer.
Yeah. Only that, right? In 1866, he gave up his business to open a photographic studio, advertising himself as a portrait and landscape photographer. Just that. You see? He opened a studio in 1866 and that's it. It doesn't mention whether that studio was close to his home or not. So that's why it's not given. Okay? So you can mark that one and write number 5 there. Okay. Number 6. Please speak a little bit louder. I can't hear you. Okay, what's the answer for number 6, guys? True, right? True for number 6. Henderson gave up portraiture so that he could focus on taking photographs of scenery. And that's true. So what does that mean? Hương, tell me. When we say that's true, what does that mean? My God. Someone else, please tell me. When we say that statement is true, what does that mean? Because you must be able to understand the statement first, right? And how can we say that you really understand the statement? Yeah, by explaining. So you must be able to explain that to me in your own words. If you can explain clearly everything here to me in your own words, so that means you understand that completely. So what does that mean? Use your own words and explain the statement to me. No, you don't understand my question. Someone else, please. Hả? Không có bạn nào luôn hả? Really? Các bạn giải thích cái câu đó bằng cái từ của bạn coi. Không đọc lại cái câu đó cho thầy nghe nữa, thầy đọc nhiều lần rồi. Giải thích bằng cái từ vựng của các bạn. Tell me. Nobody? Really? Seriously? Huy, explain that. Guys, because if you don't understand the statement, how can you answer that? You can't just jump in and then you tell me anything, right? At least you must be able to explain the statement. Nhi. Come again?
He don't do job taking a picture portrait. Instead of that, he concentrate on taking a picture of scenery.
Okay, yeah, okay, not bad. Yes, so that means she understands that. She understands that. Yeah, even though she could not explain it clearly, but yeah, I know you understand that. So Henderson gave up portraiture. That means that he didn't do anything related to that anymore. Okay. Why? So that he could focus or he could concentrate on what? Taking photographs of scenery. So now he should focus on scenery, not portraiture. That's the meaning. Okay? He didn't want to focus on portraiture anymore. Instead, he just concentrated on scenery. And that's true. Alright, now where's that? Home. No, that's not the answer. Someone else. Huy, go.
Line in the next page, line number 2, from about 80, 70, he dropped portraiture to specialize in landscape, photography, and other view. His numerous photographs of city life, relevant streets, skinness, house, and market are alive with human activity, and although his favorite subject was landscape, he usually composed his skinness around such human pursuits as farming the land, cutting ice on the river, or sliding down a woodland stream.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's correct. Now tell me the most important word, the most important sentence here. Because you read quite a lot and I can see the answer in one of them. Tell me the most important sentence. What's that?
He dropped portraiture to specialize in landscape, photography, and other view.
Yes, that is the most important sentence, yes. From about 1870, he dropped portraiture. When we say he dropped portraiture, that means he... Yeah, that means he gave up portraiture. For what? To specialize in landscape photography and other views. Specialize in landscape photography means? Yeah, means focus on. Focus on taking photographs of scenery. Okay? Scenery is just similar as landscape. Alright guys? Landscape photography, that means taking photographs or taking pictures of scenery. They have the same meaning. Okay? Alright, now you can mark that one. From about 1870 until other views. And then you can write number 6 next to that. Of course, if you want, you can read more, something like his numerous photographs of city life revealed in street scenes, blah blah, all of the things. Okay, to see more, to understand more about that. But this one is the most important sentence, which answer question number 6. All right, now 7. Nhi. Okay, what's the answer for this? 7 fourths, right? Yeah, 7 fourths. All right. You can write number. You can write fourths there. Wait. When Henderson began work for the intercolonial railway, the Montreal to Halifax line had been finished and forced. What does that mean?
When he began work, the Montreal line hadn't been finished.
Yes, when he began, yeah, something like that, right? Something like that. So when Henderson began work for that railway, the Montreal to Halifax line maybe had not been finished. Okay. Here they say that that line had been finished, and the answer should be like it had not been or hadn't been finished. Okay. Where's that? Yeah. Yeah. The first paragraph of the next page. Paragraph 3. Okay. Line number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Last time we were in the lower
San Lawrence, yeah.
river every time. He took some photographs of the construction of the intercolonial railway. This undertaking led in 1875 to a commission for the railway to record the principal structure along the almost completed line connecting Monju to Hyde Park.
Okay. Yeah, so from that one, yeah, that same year, while in the lower San Lawrence River region, he took some photographs of the construction of the intercolonial railway. Yeah, we can see that name there, right? This undertaking led in 1875 to a commission from the railway to record the principal structures along the almost completed line connecting Montreal to Halifax. See that? Okay. Now here they say that when he began work for that railway and this line had been finished, right? But here you see they say this undertaking led in 1875 to a commission from the railway to record the blah. So that means that he began working there, right? Along the almost completed line. So it hadn't been finished yet. See that? Okay? Alright. So you can mark that one. That is the answer for number 7. From that same year to connecting Montreal to Halifax, right? That one, and then you can write number 7 next to that. Mấy cái phần thầy kêu các bạn đánh dấu, các bạn nhớ đánh dấu hết thôi nha, để mốt về nhà tìm lại đáp án mình còn biết nó nằm ở đâu. Ok. Với lại quan trọng là khi thầy yêu cầu các bạn làm thì bạn làm đi cho nó cho mình linh hoạt lên, ok? Mình năng động lên, mình học cho nó dễ vào. Besides that, you can also underline the phrase the almost completed line. Okay, the almost completed line. So that's important. Yeah. Okay, good. Now number 8. Henderson's last work as a photographer was with the Canadian Pacific Railway. What's the answer? True. Okay. You can write true down. Yeah. Okay. Okay. This is true. Yeah, this is too easy. No need to explain this. Too easy, really. His last work as a photographer was with that railway, and that's true. So it must be correct. Where's that? Mm-hmm.
In 1885, he went west along the Canadian Pacific Railway as far as Rogers Pass in British Columbia, where he took photographs of the mountains and the rest of construction. In 1892, Henderson accepted a full-time position with the CPR as manager of a photography department, which he was to set up and administer.
Mm-hmm. What? So you read everything from in 1885 until a minister, right? In 1885, he went west along the Canadian Pacific Railway. Okay, I can see the Canadian Pacific Railway here. CPR as far as Rogers Pass in British Columbia, where he took photographs of the mountains and the progress of construction. In 1892, Henderson accepted a full-time position with the CPR as manager of a photographic department, which he was to set up and administer. Is that enough? Because here I see they mention something like his last work, right? His last work. Do you understand last work? What does that mean? What does that mean?
The last time Henderson worked like a photographer.
The last, yeah, what does that mean? That means after that, did he work anymore? No. Okay? I mean, he stopped working as a photographer after that, right? So that's why they said that his last work as a photographer, maybe after that he still worked with another job or something, I don't know. But here, his last work as a photographer was with that railway. And that's true. But here, what you have just read, I don't see anything like his last work. Right? I want you to see like, okay, this is his last work. That means his final work as a photographer. Just to make sure that he didn't do anything related to photography anymore after that. Where? Because if you just read that and I don't see any last work, then it doesn't make sense. Okay.
He continued in this post until 1897, when he retired completely from photography.
Yeah. He continued in this post until 1897, when he retired completely from photography. Yes. He retired completely from photography. That means that is his last work. I mean, he didn't continue working as a photography after that. Okay? So I must be able to see that, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. His duties included spending 4 months in the field each year. That summer he made his second trip west, photographing extensively along the railway line as far as Victoria. He continued in this post until that year, okay, until 1897, when he retired completely from photography. And yeah, here we see that he retired completely from photography, and that is the work with the Canadian Pacific Railway, right? Yeah? Because in 1885 he went west along the Canadian Pacific Railway as well, and then he did some job there. So he continued this post. Post, what does that mean? He continued in this post, what does that mean? Can you guess if you don't know the meaning of the word? What does that mean? I mean job or work. Okay, underline that and write immediately. I mean job or work. He continued in this job, okay, on his post until 1897, when he retired completely from photography. Okay. Yes, so you can mark that one from in 1885 until the end from photography, and you can write number 8 there. That's where you can find information. Number 8, and you can mark that area, and also you can underline the sentence. He continued in this post until you can underline when he retired completely. Okay, he retired completely from photography. See that? Okay. Alright guys, now do you understand everything? Yeah. Of course, there are many words there you don't understand, obviously. But doesn't matter. But now, do you understand all the questions here? Yeah. Okay. Oh my God, the other one is, they're also very long, but it's time for a break. Okay.